It's the final countdown of the 2024 year.
It's the final countdown.
Copyright strike.
This is why we can't get anything done. I'm Levi.
I'm Jacoby.
And I'm Joe.
And this is the Thought Vessel. Welcome to the show.
I hope your Christmas was phenomenal.
Or your holiday in general, because there's definitely a lot of them around the same time. Almost like humans like celebrating around a specific point in the year.
I don't care what you're celebrating as long as you are having a great time doing it.
Imagine like earlier on, it's super cold. All your crops are dead. You got to find something to be happy about.
Oh, yeah. Specifically, it was just to make sure that light was brought into people's lives, especially with Hanukkah. Literally a festival of lights because the oil lasted 8 crazy nights.
It's lit.
It's hilarious because this happens to be like the sadder moments of my year, but I digress.
Well, you have seasonal depression is definitely a thing.
Also, your birthday is right after Christmas.
Yeah, we're 3 days away at this point in the recording.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is great for audio. Just saying, yeah, over again.
Just putting it out there. In the time of recording, that's what this is supposed to be.
If it wasn't clear, this is our New Year's episode. Last year, we did a New Year's and Christmas combined. This year, we separated them out. So we're going to be covering a couple different topics here. First one we're looking at is a kind of a quick look back on the year, the goods, the bads, and kind of a high-low. So we're going to quickly go through everything, and then we'll kind of go through everyone's favorite and least favorite part of the year. And then with that as well, we're also having a recap of our New Year's resolutions from last time and what our New Year's resolutions for 2025 are going to be.
And here I thought the whole reason why we separated those episodes is because we keep making hour-and-a-half episodes.
We have a lot to say.
I know. It's actually just grown. We used to not have that much to say. Now we're dead set on making sure we say everything.
We have opinions. We want them to be heard. Get back in the editing dungeon. All the editors. Is how we feel, apparently. Don't worry. I'm going to be joining you on this train. More on that later.
But a quick recap as far as the releases were for the year. So we started out the year with Ravnica Remastered around January 12th. With a lot of the remastered sets, we do like these things. They have reprint equity, so you get more out there. They're fun to draft. Kind of just a nice little set. One that most people you can go ahead and skip if you're not interested because it's going to be nothing new. You can draft it as well. It just depends on what you want to do. After that, we got a kind of a combo here with Murders at Karlov Manor and Ravnica Clue Edition kind of come around the same time. Ravnica Clue Edition was kind of a Clue version of Magic the Gathering. Got the guilds together, kind of a jumpstart kind of vibe. Really fun. Definitely enjoyed giving that a go. And then Murders at Karlov Manor. It's kind of funny because Magic will always do kind of a power creep reset set where it'll be a very low power set and it will not sell well and people will hate it. And you know it's coming because they add so much flavor to it. When Strixhaven came out and they did all the different schools and everyone kind of had their like school pride going on with all the different Silver Quill and everything like that.
Prismari,
Lorehold,
Yeah.
Slytherin, but aka Witherbloom, the potion people.
Just really
But,
putting it out there, huh?
With that, we had the soundtrack that came out for New Capenna. That was super cool. I wish we would do that more often. Murders at Karlov Manor was definitely that. They kind of wanted to sell out their Clue Edition. If you had a chance to go to the convention, they had a lot of themes going on there. It was really neat. The cards themselves, with a couple of exceptions, weren't just inherently powerful, and the Clue tokens just weren't particularly strong. But I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed that set. I thought it was really neat. I also always love an excuse to go back to Ravnica. So
despite it being a hat set.
Despite it being a hat set.
Ugh.
Sometimes you're willing to just drag your feet through the mud if you got something at the finish line.
No, that's absolutely fair. And especially with them doing the House of Blues or how they did it, House of Clues.
Mm-hmm.
The dance party was phenomenal in Chicago. They understood that maybe Elijah Wood, regardless of him being a DJ, is not the best DJ for your convention.
He was technically up there. The other guy was doing most of the work, but it was kind of cool to just say you went to a thing with Elijah Wood there that was DJing.
Yeah, I did miss when they did it in Vegas at the House of Blues in Vegas. They didn't have as many of the party things that they did for Chicago. You remember that there was the scavenger hunt around the House of Blues?
You gotta give the introverts a task.
I could also understand because the House of Blues in Vegas was not as cool and decorated literally was kind of just the stage.
Yeah, no, the House of Blues is like one of the coolest parties I've ever been to. That location is incredible. We had the VIP section that you could just walk into and find clues wherever. It was awesome.
Yeah, Levi just sat in that section where you're just like, sup, kind of cool over here. Well, I was on that dance floor shaking my thumb.
I had an injured knee. I was grooving from a seat.
I was just at home minding my business.
Moving on, though.
Actually, funny enough, I did injure my knee at the very start of the party in Vegas, but danced on that knee for 4 hours.
Spilled Stragicon.
It worked out. I didn't feel it.
The next set that came out was our first Universes Beyond of the year, and that was Fallout. Kind of going in conjunction with the TV show that came out as well. It was only the precons for this one, so it was kind of the precon version of the set, kind of similar to the way Doctor Who was in years past. We got a lot of
40K.
Warhammer 40K as well. So we're having different styles of Universes Beyond as they've been coming out for the different IPs, which I think they've been testing the waters with that. I think we're going to get more standard sets moving forward here.
They've also been doing collector boosters when it's that set because they want to still promote other art for the set that they can't necessarily put into the Commander product.
Yeah.
And that started with Doctor Who, but got continued with Fallout.
Yeah, but it was everything that was in the sets regardless. It was a cool set. There was a lot of neat things. Mutants, very popular. Caesar I have a friend who plays now. That's his deck. He just upgrades that like crazy. Big fan of it. It is what it is.
The Mothman.
The Mothman cometh.
So
I hope so.
Every time I saw it at a table, it disappointed me.
It is a big, scary target, I will say.
It didn't do much every time I saw it, really.
The Mothman?
Yeah.
I mean, that happens. When I saw a more casual version, that thing got to 24 power. And it certainly threatened to kill me.
It's just every time I saw it, they only cared about the rad counters, and the rad counters just never did much.
That can be tough, I will say.
But it's just like, oh yeah, you put like 3 rad counters and they're gone. And I stab you.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, just food chain. And the rad counters will matter a whole lot more.
Overall, though, I thought it was a good set. One after that, we started doing our cowboy shit, and that was Outlaws of Thunder Junction.
And where I got one of my favorite boys, Girid.
You've yeed your last ha.
Look, it's just Kiki Jiki with extra steps and more colors.
It is. And, they had a lot of, as much as we hate on it for being another hat set, there was some cool cards in that set. We got some interesting things. The big score, the alternate art foiling they had on some of those was really cool. And then we got an introduction to one of our most controversial characters of the year, Loot, came out of Thunder Junction. And we got additional Okos and a lot of characters that we've known, just slightly weaker versions of all the characters.
I just didn't care for this is another set. I just didn't care for it.
Except for Yuma.
Yeah.
Your land destruction commander.
No, I get it. Like, I love that one. That's the only thing out of that entire set, though, is that deck. So I guess they gave me plants. Yeah. I got to cuddle some cactuses.
I will say with Loot, it has seemed to be even more controversy now because when it first came out, it was just cute character. And I didn't hear too many people get that mad at it. But recently, I have been seeing some like really heinous memes. Just like, here's what we did in the same strain as like the Koroks in Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild and the like, where they just really tortured them. And they were doing that with Loot. It brought up the memes of like, oh, why don't you like this character? I'm literally trying to kill it as much as possible. Universes Beyond it is then.
I was unimpressed with the majority of the set. That being said, there were a few cards I really liked. The Deserts theme was cool, and I liked Kamal. I didn't get to play it, see it, or watch it, but I liked the idea.
It was a cool concept. I will give it that.
I also liked the concept of committing crime.
Fair enough.
And you could do stuff like target player draws a card, and it would be considered a crime. So technically speaking, group hug is a crime.
We love this. This is great. I'm going to group hug all over them. I busted through the door. I'm the group hug, and I'm going to group hug all over you.
Joe busting through the door. It's hug time. No, player, no.
Moving on to our next set here, we have Modern Horizons 3, which was the strongest set of the year and gave us our most controversial naughty list character, Nadu.
But also just the fact that it is warped Modern into a place where it's just not the same format anymore. They've rotated it so horrendously with all of the power creep cards and trying to push specific archetypes where they just become the new archetypes of Modern entirely, where it killed a lot of enjoyment for people who enjoyed Modern.
There's a lot of players that are literally just going to other formats right now and just waiting for it to die out and then come back to it after massive ban list.
Editor's note. If you didn't catch on, yes, we do in fact record these ahead of time. So we in fact recorded this before the massive ban announcement that has shaken up Modern once again. So yay for predictions.
What's really awkward is that I really dissociated Modern from the set, which is funny because Modern Horizons 3. Modern didn't even click with me because I looked at all of the, like, we got the Necrobloom, super cool card.
It was a great
Definitely a commander card. We got Nadu, definitely a commander-esque card. We got Kodu, definitely something you put in a commander deck and not super a lot of other things. We got
Kodu?
So he is the bear that turns everything into bears.
Oh, I pronounced that Kado.
Yeah, I pronounce it Death with Elshnorn.
We got a king. There's the Soren, which for whatever reason got a CDH list at one point.
Well, it has Extort on it.
Yeah,
That's about it. But I mean, even then, it was kind of a cool vampire.
this felt weird to be like 90% of these cards that came out of this set, I was like, yeah, you belong in Commander, and Modern never crossed my mind.
That is one of the best parts about it, which was the card designs were really cool.
We'll dive into that a little bit more when we kind of break down our favorites and least favorites here. Just moving forward, July 5th, we got Assassin's Creed. This was more of what we call an aftermath set where you had very thin packs. You didn't really have a chance to like draft or anything, but there was a lot of like the historic type spells in there. Like the list wasn't particularly long. There are some cards in there that I absolutely loved. My favorite commander from this year, I think, came out, which was Alexios, aka Chuck Norris, Planeswalker, Texas Ranger, which was just a slightly worse version of Slicer and the absolute beast that he is. But
I regard it as like one of those flyover sets,
Yeah.
where it just didn't get a lot of publicity, in my opinion, and
it did not.
And it
No.
just, I don't know what the sales were for it, but like I don't think they were the best.
They didn't market well. I think a part of it was because we had such a negative reaction to the last Aftermath set they did that they're just kind of like, okay, well, we had this in production. We're just going to roll it out and see what happens. The only frustrating part for me is like no one opened any packs. So like if I want any of these cards, like I have to go online or something to find them because no one has them in the stores because just no one bought them.
Yeah,
Yep.
it was not a good investment.
But then we got back to, I think, most people think was probably the best flavor-wise set of the year, and that was Bloomborough around August,
Yeah,
which was your red wall, woodland critter, fantasy type set with all your different frogs and rabbits and ferrets and massive owl of doom.
I have a love and hate relationship with that set because I loved a lot of the themes. I loved the creature archetypes. A
You got
lot of
so
the
many
art.
bunnies.
I got so many rabbits.
the mechanics were also really cool. in
Yeah.
that set.
Mechanics were dope. We got, yeah,
Limited too. It was great.
we got some of my favorite art, which is from like Mouse Guard, which loved that artist. Loved the little mouse he did with the sword in the set. But the where I stick on my controversy seat is why did we have planeswalkers? It was a more of the hat stuff, but we just turned them into animals.
For me, it kind of reminded me of, we had an Iron Man comic back in the day that had like a Pharaoh version of Iron Man and a Viking version of Iron Man and things like that. Just kind of like an alternate cover. And then Karn was a tree.
My thought process for what they did was that they brought in their furry specialist and asked what fursona would be assigned to the planeswalkers.
And like, no shame to personas, because that's not a issue I worry about.
I think they
I
might have had
just-
that in house.
I just don't care personally. Like, I don't need to know why Jace is a fox. That's cool and all. We could talk about it all day. I don't need a magic card of it.
She is clever.
What we actually found out is what the fox says is, I'm only doing this for Vraska and Loot.
Yeah.
What does the fox say? I'm here for Veraska.
But I will say, at least seeing those were really cool. One came in each of the commander decks for the set,
Mhm.
and they had the additional ones for like the special slot, which is really cool, and especially Karn as a tree.
They were neat. It's on reprint cards, so if you don't like it, you can just ignore it and move on. All of the planeswalkers that they used were pretty relevant. There wasn't any of that I was like, this is just absolute garbage.
Did the main set in Standard, did any Planeswalker get printed into Standard at that point? I don't think so.
I don't think in that set because they all kind of got creaturefied.
Even then, like the main story of that set focused only on characters on that plane. I don't think there was a single Planeswalker. I don't think there was a single character that was part of any of the previous stories in that set.
There was a Ral,
There was a Ral.
Crackling Wit. I was like, I think there's the Otter Rat.
I forgot
Yeah.
about Ral, the one that brought Storm to Standard.
Hey,
So
we
that
love
was
to
the
have
one.
it.
Also, Liliana of the Dark Realms as a little Squirrel of Doom was adorable.
Makes sense.
I did also like from that set the squirrels getting a new interesting commander where they can overrun the snot out of you like elves would.
Mhm.
I mess with squirrels. I do not mess with elves. Squirrels doing the thing is cool.
I liked it a lot because you were doing Chatterfang and just kind of like ridiculous combos and like made sense to every squirrel that can do a combo deck, but it gave you an option of this is, not equally powerful, but this is also powerful and we can take you in a different direction.
Yeah.
So I like giving players a kind of a competitive out.
and I like Zinnia.
I just
Zinnia is a great one with her child army, which they need to explain that a bit more in the lore. But
want to turn all of the squirrels sideways, whether it's to add 2/2 and trample or just turn them sideways.
Hold on. How did you not get this? Zinnia's a stork. What do storks bring, Levi?
yeah, babies, but also the babies don't fight.
Apparently those do.
Also, I don't know if you've ever met any of my baby sisters, but when they were children, like small tots, they threw hands.
Yeah, but
Man,
okay,
the
when-
fumble of I don't know
I
if
don't
you've
have-
met any of my children. Like, wait, what? This is news.
No, like children's sisters. Like Zoe, when she was in kindergarten, broke another kid's nose.
kid had coming.
He maybe looked at my other sister Madison funny once.
Hear me out, but like I get that. But also like they're throwing so many kids into work, it's like the Nike factory over there.
But my statement stands. You're out here saying babies don't throw hands. I would like to correct you. They do throw hands.
I don't know if you've ever seen a baby that just goes hog wild because you're something new and I haven't interacted with. Interaction by putting my hand in your eye.
Or just like randomly grabbing you and stuff. Attack 100, damage 0. That meme for a while.
So yeah, it absolutely makes sense. What the hell?
Go, my child army.
Yeah.
It's just weird.
It's weird that the child army is weird.
Do you know what else is weird?
What's that?
Cat stuffed animals made out of spiders. Because the next one was Duskmourn House of Horror.
I mean, if you're in a horror setting, it's not that weird. It's in fact expected, and I hate it.
Yeah, I was like, oh, preview card. Oh, I don't like this. That was the first one, too. They set the tone.
You know what's
Yeah.
really messed up? That was one of my favorite cards from this set.
It was strong. It was a strong card.
I just want more spy to tribal working well.
I think it also was that card in particular was really good for that one counters CDH deck because you just tap it for mana, it gets a counter, and oh hey, you're just doing the thing.
We're doing stuff.
Can I also sit here and
No.
say they gave us
Stand.
Okay, well, but anyways, they showed us one spider card. They're like, yeah, creepy horrors and spiders. No other spiders. Nothing interesting
Some
spider
people
related
have
except for like 2
arachnophobia.
cards. Okay, so why start with the twitching toy that is a spider?
Because
But-
set the tone.
but
So add more spiders.
that's because they focused more on all fears, and that's why we have literally one of the best cards of the fear cycle, the fear of missing out.
Also, they talked about all fear if fear was just predominantly 1980s horror villains.
Also, I don't know a lot of people who noticed the almost Beetlejuice insert from the Insect Beast.
Yo, what?
Altonica, the thrice called Beetlejuice.
Oh, Altenac.
Yeah, Altanac. That's what, however you, yeah, the thrice called.
We really should have an app that just like, this is how you pronounce all the cards. I would pay money for that.
That's fair, especially because any kind of fantasy setting in all regards will have somebody named a name that you have not been familiar with.
Oh,
If
yeah.
you're only reading it, you have a high percentage of getting it wrong.
100%. And it's all made up too. Like it's just a gargly bunch of nonsense.
Unless you do the J.R.R. Tolkien and sit down and do a whole language, and therefore you're going to have phonetics.
That man was coping from World War I so
Oh my
hard.
God.
He made an entire world.
Specifically for his children, too.
And a lot of it was based on his experiences. Like it's very impressive at the end of the day at what he was
Mhm.
able to accomplish.
Yeah.
But
Next up is the Jumpstart happened after that?
Foundations.
Next one was Foundations. So
Yeah.
that was on November 15th, which I think was probably my favorite of the standard sets from the year. It just felt like a good old fashioned, we're going to just celebrate Magic characters. No theme, no gimmick. Magic's awesome. And I think it was just, everyone seemed to really like the set.
And especially because it was a way to return to core sets without having to do a core set every year.
We got my
R.I.P.
boy.
Giant Spider.
We got my boy. We got the heir apparent in that set. The
Yeah.
lad.
Apparently he's excited.
Yeah, the set itself had so many interesting archetypes and so many different interesting build pieces
Mhm.
to go into, just not even just like future decks, but also updated decks nowadays. Decks like that were using Delny specifically had a way to get a good win with Heir
Mhm.
Apparent. A lot of the new cards that just enabled the infinite combos that aren't easily tutorable in standard right now, like the one that we had, which was Exquisite Blood and
Mhm.
the other one.
Same with
But-
Bond.
Yes, but with the single creature and then two other creatures that can do something with that.
And we got the most mono green commander of all time.
Loot.
Loot, Exuberant Explorer. Everything you want to do in mono green on one card. You want to play extra lands? I got you. You want to ramp? I got you. You want to look at your top cards and cheat on a big creature? I got you.
It's literally just a mono green Kinnan that is just slightly worse.
Yeah, and it's great. It's a lovely card.
You know what card came out of this stuff I was originally excited for, and then it just dawned on me that it just doesn't have the support yet to be interesting?
Most of the cards you like.
Slinza.
That
You don't even know what
Oh no, that's the Beast Kindred.
Hey, there you go. You remembered.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Slinza. It's Beast Tribal. Make your Beast cheaper. They enter with counters. When Power 4 or greater enters, you can pay some mana, it fights some stuff. Really interesting and like fun and valid. And there's not enough good beasts to really do anything with it.
Not yet.
Or my favorite commander out of the Foundation Jumpstart, Rev. What if every creature I had was a Ragavan?
Or you get, or not from the Jumpstart, but the Foundation. So you get a Niv Mizzet that combos with Niv Mizzet.
Man, it's crazy.
I hear you like Niv Mizzet. What if you had more Niv Mizzet with your Niv Mizzet?
Or honestly, even if it's not comboing with Niv Mizzet, just the fact that you can put in every burn spell and just draw that many cards is still fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And another one that has, thus far from my own research, just fallen flat on its face is Fumulus, the infection. Infestation. I can't speak. It's another Jumpstart one.
It's okay. We're going to edit this, right, Joe?
Yeah.
No.
No.
Not this one.
No, not this one. This one's, yeah. So we had a 4-drop 2/2 flying death touch vampire insect.
Of insect.
Of insect.
Oh yeah, that's the
And when
rhinoceros beetle, isn't it?
Yeah, when people sack stuff, you get 1/1 black insect tokens with flying. And when you have a insect, leech, slug, or worm attack, defending player loses a life, you gain a life. Super
That's
cool.
nice.
But also, like, it's mono black, so all of the black green stuff just does not go in. It's sad.
That is always worse when like you're like short a color and you're like, man.
Yeah.
This would have been so perfect if you added a color.
Unless you're Shrewfish Sprout Sire. Sweet.
Stop it.
The first actual card that can be cast that is actually a Saproling.
We get a lot of fun guys in that list.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that one specifically is Saproling. It's great. All of the sets have been really good in one way or another, and then really bad in other ways. Some much more bad than the others.
But if we were going to quickly kind of go through it, what it was your favorite part of the year and what was your least favorite from the sets?
Man, honestly, my favorite is just playing with the cards. And for a majority of the sets, I got to play with the cards, not the Assassin's Creed. The Assassin's Creed, I did not really play with any of those cards.
It's a myth.
Murders, I got to play with Slime Against Humanity. Outlaws, I got to play with Geary. Modern Horizons, I got to play with a whole bunch of the strong cards in like a lot of the CDH decks. Maybe not build a commander out of it, but a lot of the cards.
Very fun stuff.
I also loved Gev from Bloomburrow. And with Duskborn, I've just been loving playing with the manifest mechanic and doing the revival of like the Abhorrent Oculus and Standard.
I would have to go with my favorite was when we went to the convention and we got to participate in the events and play with the new stuff.
Do cowboy shit.
Yeah, the cowboy stuff did not really do it for me, but the one deck was really fun. Some of the themes we did were great, and the time we had was the most important part.
Yes.
Yeah.
The
I didn't get
gathering
to-
of the Magic together.
Yeah, we didn't really have anything that really behooved me as far as the rest of the sets. Bloomburrow was cool. I got my favorite artist, but it didn't do a whole lot for me. Assassin's Creed didn't do much for me. Horizons was neat. I got some new cards, but it didn't continuously do stuff for me. Foundations is cute, but outside of like Arena, I don't necessarily care.
I suppose that's fair.
Like I got bits and pieces of joy, but nothing topped the convention experience we had together as a group.
Also, before anyone says anything, we skipped every secret lair because that's way too many to cover.
We're not doing
There's
that.
And we did have a couple in the secret layers that I personally did enjoy. I'm a big Ghostbusters fan, so having Ghostbusters from the animated set was really neat. I got a Ghostbusters vehicle. I got the Ecto one in my Magda deck, and it makes me happy every time I get a chance to pull it out. So there was a lot of cool stuff. Definitely the good. Some of the bad, I think, just the absolute fumbling that we've had with some of the secret layers. We've had a lack of consistency. Sometimes it's a print to order in which you don't get the cards forever. And then we're having some of the scalping stuff where you have to be hitting refresh for like 4 hours straight to maybe get what you wanted.
Or somebody finds that the back end of the website could just easily be skipped
Yeah.
by just putting in this one particular web address, and everybody else who was just waiting like they think they should get skipped over by people who
Yeah.
just found the bypass.
And it was weird because you'd be in line and then it would say it's going to take you longer for some reason. And then you'd go back and forth. It was a very stressful day.
And especially with how a lot of what we can only consider as scalpers, because we don't know who did it, bought multiples of the set before people could even buy it, and also ran out of copies of the Avengers Tower Arcane Signet,
Very quickly.
which was not limited to one per collection. It was however much you spent, you got that.
So if you're buying, 8 bundles and getting as many of those you're going to get off that. I can't remember what the dollar threshold they put, like 150 or
For the Arcane Signet, it was 200 because if you bought one bundle, it was 250. But I believe they put it at 200 so you can buy like 4 of them without.
and then get a little extra.
Yeah.
But I don't think it was handled well. And then we had some bad sets. I think we're not taking the lore seriously right now with kind of the hattening, and the storyline just seems to be lost ever since War of the Spark. They just don't know what they're doing. Like War of the Spark, obviously, as I said in the last episode, not the best executed, but
Yeah.
we at least had a big bad villain. And I mean, Mother of Machines and Phyrexia All One was nice, but I think it was gone too soon.
Yeah, that one, like the biggest argument that people had was like the wrap up was way too quick. It should not have been start of war is this set, end of war is this set.
And even like Nico Bolas, you had like, okay, we went to Amonkhet, and then like, oh, this Hour of Devastation, like the villains won. It was game over. Now we're going to have to flee. Got the Ixalan. Like it was very flavorful. It was kind of tricking over multiple sets. You had henchmen. I think at this point, you'd almost have to have like a secret villain through the next few sets. Like this thing keeps showing up on different planes and like at some point reveal who it is, because like you just do not have a big bad right now unless Nico Bolas escapes.
Yeah, I think it's one of those hard things where they've kind of just shelved a lot of their big bads that they could use as overarching plot lines. And I think they might have taken the wrong lessons away from March of the Machine because the set was rushed, and they only hear, we didn't like that set, but they didn't hear, we didn't like that set because it was rushed.
I just want to have plotline and story that's really neat and entertaining, and I can kind of follow along as these sets are coming out. I'm like, oh, for example, like I read the War of the Spark book, so like I had a lot more of an interest in a little wall-making planeswalker named Teo because of it. Because I knew a little bit about the backstory. He's like just starting out, trying to learn how to use planeswalker's effects, like trying to use his best to keep everyone else safe during the invasion. It was neat. It gave me more of a respect for the character, and it was kind of fun learning off that background. But in these new characters, like we're just going to rehash everybody, make them worse or like a diluted version, cowboyify or whatever it might be.
We need better story and better education as to why certain people are certain places. And I would be more than thrilled to learn if we got a new Nico. That's not Nico. Oh, it's Avarice or whatever, a dude. I don't mind learning a new guy named Avarice, why he's here, what he's doing. But please, introduce something and then stick with it for a bit and give me a reason to continue to want to know more about this guy.
They tried it with Kellen.
They did things with Kellen that were not what we kind of want. As far as the storytelling aspect, from what I've heard of the Bloomborough story, that actually was more on par of what people like to hear. The Duskborn story was very enrapturing because I was able to listen to it since Wizards just started to do video audiobooks for the stories so people could also listen to it. And I listened to those when I was going to bed, and hearing a horror story going to bed is always real fun.
It's a great idea. What can go wrong?
If I didn't hate elves so much, Tyvar would have probably seemed a bit more interesting because throughout the majority of what he is doing, he's always doing something, and his story actively is progressing.
He plays like that arrogant badass so well.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of like the elf version of Cobra Kai. He's neat.
Every time I see him, he's punching something. I know that if I'm going to see, if they say Tyvar is showing up, I don't know what he's doing aside from knocking out the teeth of whatever he's about to approach.
He's a jubilant brawler.
Look, hold on. His sexual orientation are these hands, and you're going to catch them.
Like
you can get it. You can get it.
Like we met
These
him.
hands.
Yeah, we met him on Kaldheim, and he seemed like partially a chill dude. He just had some death touch or whatever. Neat, whatever. Then he just started throwing hands at everything that could ever exist.
Viking elves.
Did Tyvar the Planeswalker have death touch?
No,
All
he
elves-
said
your
elves
elves
you
did.
control, add for green and have death touch.
Add for black.
Add for black,
Add for
sorry.
black.
You're right. But yeah, no, he didn't know punches himself. He's just like, yeah, elves are more lethal. Then he decided to actively be green-black, and he's like, you know what, maybe I like throwing them myself. And found out he had a goal in life. Deck every Phyrexian.
Speaking of cool lore sets, Kaldheim was amazing.
Yeah.
Like, we need more like that. Kaldheim was awesome. Kamigawa Neon Dynasty was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I will never, ever, ever let Wizards live down the freaking atrocity they did my boys of Phyrexia with. Oh man, build up, you suck.
Hence the end story was way too rushed, and they shouldn't have done that.
Like,
I think I genuinely, I feel like they should have let the Phyrexians win and then kind of get into like an apocalyptic state for a while.
Well, just given how they played out a lot of the imagery for March of the Machine, that was their start of the invasion, and they got whooped immediately.
Sometimes it's just an angel planeswalker out of nowhere.
If we had lost over the course of maybe 2 sets, or even not just invasion and then immediate downfall, sure, fine, whatever. I do not like that it was like, oh yeah, the Phyrexians are here. We're going to change up the plane. Nothing's going to be the same. Also, we just killed all the Phyrexians and what remains is in a bubble. I'm sorry, why is that one sentence? Why did you say all of that in less than a paragraph?
Yeah, the consistency that they did with the Aftermath set, where literally Karn and Teferi and Jaheira gave up their spark and life to cure the phyresis of Ajani and Nissa. Literally Nahiri on Zendikar. Well, I'm better apparently, and angry.
I hate how much attention we gave Elishnorn and how like, oh, the Queen of Mother. And then the only thing we get in the next set is a destruction spell of Karn just, I ripped her head off. Adore me. Like, that's it. That's essentially the lore we got.
It was way too rushed. But enough about the previous year.
Yeah, so that was the good. That was the bad. Briefly, because we have a whole podcast on this, the ugly, that was the bannings that occurred, the death threats that happened, the fumbling of effectively turning over the Commander format to Wizards of the Coast through everything. Obviously, it had to happen, but the whole situation was just not managed well.
We definitely saw the ugly side of so many people this year. And it certainly caused me to not really want to play with those specific people like I was playing with them already. No, I mainly only saw the community that did do a backlash, and it was disheartening. I made sure to send condolences to the people that I follow as content creators that got the worst of it, which were Jim and Olivia. Olivia at least was able to come back to do it, and Jim, while they still have offered him a seat on the new council, is still stepping back from that after all of that because it was rough for him.
So on that topic, something that I think we obviously stand on a united front here on this podcast is you are allowed to feel your emotions. However, being upset does not justify lashing out at anybody. It does not matter how upset you find someone's decision. There is no planet, no multiverse card game, anything where you should ever send a death threat to someone over something like this. It is just absolutely unacceptable behavior.
I think a part of it too is someone puts out a tweet that says, hey, I'm disappointed with the bannings, but I'll swap out the mana crypt for a mind stone for the time being and figure it out. No one's going to follow that. That doesn't get attention. So the worst just kind of rose to the top. I feel like a lot of people were just in the middle where there are some players that kind of lost their CDH decks. That sucks. I get that. But most people were just like, well, I'll just tweak my decks a little bit. Like, it's fair across the board. It's not like this particular person or this particular city, no one's allowed to do mana crypt. Like, it was equal across the board. So for me, it's like my decks are getting worse. Everyone else's decks are getting worse, effectively.
And here's the thing. Everything we do, this is a community-focused game. There are not many games you can honestly say where your community is almost the top point of everything you care about. Pokemon, yeah, whatever, they kind of have a community, but they don't, outside of like trading stuff, they don't talk to each other about like, oh, the format's changed in this way.
Pokemon's weird. It's like over half the players don't even play. They just collect the cards and kind of flip them, and it's just an interesting vibe over there.
It's literally my best friend. I told him that I was playing the Pokemon TCG Pocket, and he was just like, yeah, I'm only on there to collect the cards, where I was just like, yo, the game is pretty fun, except for like the few decks that are assholes. But for the most part, playing the game, it was in fact a very interesting way to play Pokemon because they do like the Hearthstone thing where you get an energy a turn.
Yeah.
And you're able to at least do that.
Either way, our game is more community driven, and our community needs to not be like that.
We need to, in fact, have a better community.
Moving on here towards our New Year's resolutions. So quickly, we're going to go over our New Year's resolutions from last year to see how we did. And then we're going to move on to what our resolutions are going to be for 2025. We'll go around the table with that one. For my New Year's resolutions, I'll just kind of go through all three of them on my side and we'll go to the next person. So my three were I wanted to play 1/3 of my games using red because that was a color that I just really wasn't using very much. I wanted to get more involved with the color, kind of learn it a bit more. I was able to do that through the bannings and everything. My primary CDH deck is now mono red. So I've gotten well with the red. It's not my favorite color still. I love my Azorius Guild, but I do enjoy some different strategies through that. The second one was trimming the deck list. Ironically, when I was thinking about this throughout the weeks, I feel like it's already happened because I will go through and pick up one of my old decks that just happened to have like a Dockside or a Mana Crypt. And if I just don't have any motivation to go find a substitute, I just take the deck apart. Because there's certain decks I'm like, I'm not playing this. I clearly haven't played this in multiple months since it still has a legal card in there. I have no desire to update on a Mox Field. I'm just going to get rid of it. So by having fewer decks, I can take more time focusing on them and I can upgrade them a lot easier. That's been a net positive for me. And then I still brew with my third goal, which is to get everything, all my deck lists online. So having the Mox Field up and running now and kind of getting into the routine, I can just go online and brew a deck and just getting it together in concept and kind of playtest a little bit, see if it's something I actually want to do, or if I just wanted to get a little brewing game out of my system and then move on to the next thing, not dropping hundreds of dollars to build a new deck or whatever it might be. Those are my three. I was able to get all three of them accomplished. I think the hardest one for me was probably trimming the decks down because you just constantly want to brew and build up more things. And we got to a point that I was definitely up to like 20, 25 decks at one point.
Nice.
But we are down below 15. That was the goal. Correction. I wanted to get underneath 12 decks instead of 15 for the casual, which we're still underneath that threshold. So all good there. Jacob.
Alrighty. So my three resolutions were I needed to blow up the lands. I needed to give people stuff. And
Since
I
you
needed
took their lands.
and I needed to organize my collection. We got to the last one darn near the tail end. We're looking at the end of the year, and I got just barely in there. I gave people stuff with a couple commanders, and I definitely destroyed all the lands.
You got a lot of help this year from that Outlaws of Thunder Junction deck here. That did help. You got something that actually, it made sense to devote the lands in a profitable way.
Your hate was great, and their lands were decimated.
You know what's really funny is I didn't get as much hate for it in that deck.
Because it made sense.
Yeah, I got to blow it all up.
You
Yeah.
blow up the lands and you got like 40 power on board. That's a win condition.
When you have a win condition, blowing up the land seems a lot less unfavored. It's usually when it's, well, I blew up the lands. Pass.
What do you think was the most challenging of the three?
Organizing the collection.
Getting your cards organized is always a big undertaking. So I definitely get that.
We are staring down my birthday, which is basically the end of the year, and I just barely crossed the finish line.
December 29th.
Like, huh,
You're going to get doxxed.
I'm going to get doxxed on my birthday.
Yes, they are going to send you happy birthday.
Got him.
How did they find my address with my birthday? The world may never know.
And the last four of his social security number is.
Oh, Jesus. No, I actually just started doing the organizing of my collection, but with Adderall, all things are possible.
Do you
It-
remember your three?
After listening back right before we ended this,
At double speed, it was great.
it was actually really funny because Levi pointed out that I sounded the exact same at 2 times speed, where he said he sounded like Ben Shapiro. Bold
Listen,
take.
listen back. I mean, you're on YouTube right now. Listen back. Put it at 2 speed for a second. Just go, this is my voice.
This is my voice.
And this is my voice.
There you go. See? Same thing. Makes no sense. Defies all physics.
It just means that I had a very bass. And when you speed up bass, it is a little bit still bass.
I don't know if physics are the word you're looking for, but sure.
No, that's physics. It's within the sound waves.
Yeah, sure, why not?
So specifically, the 3 that I had was first the 32 deck challenge, to which I, in fact, was able to do. It got down to probably September when I finally finished that off. And the last deck that I built was Dimir.
With Adderall, all things are possible.
That was done without Adderall. That was just hyper focus and like, ooh, that seems like a cool deck to build.
What was the Dimir deck?
It was Etrata, the new one, the one that cared about creatures being flipped
Flippy.
and also stealing.
I built a Grixis deck that uses her.
Build in a style I haven't tried, to which going on to brewing with Benji, I definitely did, because trying to build Orzhov, but restricted to mono black big creatures and primarily focused on trying to do a reanimator strategy was definitely not a deck that I had built before or even touched before. That deck was still really fun to play, despite me becoming the absolute villain of the table. I got labeled Joe Hates Fun.
Yeah. If you're doing effectively mono black stuff at this point, it's going to be Joe Hates Fun.
And then finally was playing a meta deck. Read that as playing a deck that everybody else has built before. Now, it was not in the casual space. It was a CDH deck, and I built Blue Farm.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, there is more of a quote unquote meta and data to back that up in CDH than it would be in casual. So that counts.
It's not the building Urtet, the mirror, or building shrines. It was doing something that everybody else has been doing, but just in a different context. I will also say that building in a style I haven't tried, I also view that for the different formats that I've played over this past year, because I built a PEDH deck. I built Pendragon. I built a newer format Pilot. I've even gotten into Standard. So even going into a style that I haven't tried, I also view the formats in that regard as well, especially because they each come with their own restrictions, whether that be a narrower card pool for Standard or the kind of added on restriction of you got to use one rare legendary equipment with a common creature with Pendragon, mirroring Arthurian legend.
That's going to get weird with that new equipment Planeswalker.
Yeah. But
We
the
don't-
rest of the deck has to be common, so
What's
Yeah.
that thing?
As of recording, we don't know what it does, but Aether Drift, like the cup
yeah,
thing,
they're-
is
they're
going to be a
making-
Planeswalker equipment. I would assume either colorless or Wooburg just by the art style.
I believe it is colorless because at least what a lot of people are speculating is that the cup is just a spark itself. So that's why the art that we mainly saw was Chandra, because Chandra's racing to get a spark for Nissa.
But with
All
the
I
art
know-
itself, it might have like mana pips in like the abilities or something that might mess with the.
It's
loyalty.
possible.
We'll see.
All I know is they ripped it out of somebody.
Or it just exists in the universe. It's not the first time that sparks have just been weird.
Or they ripped it out of somebody.
I think it would be hilarious if they
I'm
ripped it out
hoping
of
they
somebody's
ripped it out of
chest.
somebody.
I'm betting that's the main reason why Doretti is racing.
Get
Because
it back,
Doretti,
yeah.
yeah, because Doretti is in fact just full desparked, confirmed.
They're
Yeah.
just like, oh, hey, Doretti, can we borrow something? Yeah, sure. What you want? Rips out of his chest. Well, this is the cup now. Earn it yourself or die. I don't care which.
But let's start with your resolutions, Levi.
Looking forward here, I'll start with my first resolution. This will be my first resolution in case I need to look back on this in 2025.
Or you could just run through all three and then we do that so it's much easier.
Yeah, just run through the three.
Fair enough. We'll do that.
We don't need to
instead.
draft this. This is fine.
You can edit that, right?
Yeah.
So I'll go through my three here. So the first one is I want to pick up a 60 card format. So I want to do something in the more of the constructed side. Although I have been getting into Oathbreaker a bit, having a lot of fun with that. I have a preference towards singleton formats, but I want to start getting into something more constructed, maybe doing some tournaments on Friday Night Magic, just kind of shake things up a little bit. Just because playing casual over and over again in a multi-format can get a little monotonous over time without having a chance to kind of break things up a little bit. So definitely want to do a 60 card format. Second one is over half the decks I brew in 2025 need to be newly printed commanders. Being that I am more of a bottom-up strategy brewer, normally it's I have a concept and then I find a commander that'll match that concept. When you're doing this a lot, because a lot of the commanders that come out now are more pigeonholed towards a particular strategy, a lot of times I end up falling back on like a older commander because it has some more generic abilities to fit what I'm trying to do. But it's not as fun. A lot of these have been done to death. So moving into the year, I want about half of my decks that I brew to be something that is coming out.
And not a cop out of you only brew 2 decks, so you only brewed 1 new card.
I would be so bored throughout the year if that was the case. Like, there's no way. I like brewing.
Also,
too
I
much.
think your bosses might come down on you a little bit for your article writing.
Yeah, they like deck techs. They're a fan of deck techs. They do pretty well. But it just, as a concept, not mine in particular, I have no idea. As a concept, people like deck techs, especially as like just reading just for the fresh ones that come out and things like that. And then finally, the last one is similar to one that you almost put last year as one of yours that you were thinking about, is I want a fifth of my games or 20% to be with borrowed decks.
I like the cut of your jib.
I think because I've been borrowing a lot of decks recently, especially if I'm like, I don't have a deck in a particular power level at a table that I want to, and getting a chance to try. And when I'm doing that, and I've been noticing is there's a lot of cards that I may have not taken seriously or considered previous. So getting a chance to actually play with those is kind of neat. And then also, if there's a deck that I've been wanting to build, getting a chance to try it out and see if it's something I want to do, or if it's just, I'll just borrow it every once in a while to play it. So
I'm going to let you borrow Cody.
I'll
Gonna
borrow Cody.
do it. It's going to be great.
If you let me borrow Cody, I'll play Cody. That's fine.
Oh, no. Thanks, I hate it.
But those are my three. So again, recapping here for my future self that is going to have to listen back on this video. 1, have a good day. 2, pick up a 60 card format. Over half of the decks I build have to be brand new printed cards. And then a fifth of my games have to be with borrowed decks.
Fair enough.
Those are my 3. Jacoby, it is your turn for your resolutions
Oh, man.
that we are going to say right now.
You are really trying to press this here.
No
Anyways.
pressure, but all the pressure.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I bet. So, resolution 1. I'm hoping to participate a deck in every format. So that means I want 1 Pauper deck, at least, 1 Pauper EDH deck. If there's a format in Magic that has any traction whatsoever, I want to have a deck for it.
Traction's key. That's fair.
If I build a brand new type of format just came out and no one plays it. I'm not going to waste everybody's time by building it and be like, yeah, I never played it.
That is the worst whenever you get a deck together and there's just no ability to play it.
I think at that point, it is just trying to join the discords that usually form with those formats because each time it happens, and then trying to find games within those discords.
If it catches any traction whatsoever and I hear about it, and it's not just from like one person online screaming, hey, I built a format and it's cool, I will try it. And I will try to build a deck for it.
You get a planeswalker and you get an instant and a sorcery and an artifact and an enchantment and a second planeswalker and it's 69 cards. Call it cluster.
No. Anyway, so trying to have, and I will count if I have the opportunity to do it on Arena as having built and played it, just because I could make a Pauper deck on there. It's cheaper. I could still play the game.
Pool's a little bit more limited, but yeah, you could. Yeah, Heir Apparent.
Just 40 Heir Apparents and 20 planes.
It's kind of like a 75% win rate. That deck is nuts.
Yeah. And I will consider it accomplished.
Run sweepers, people.
I will consider it accomplished if I get maybe a game a month. Only because if I get 12 games in the total year of Oathbreaker, I will consider that a victory. If I get them all at the end of the year, so be it, but at least an amount that said I played it enough. My second resolution this year is I want to press for more conventions with the boys. I find that my interaction with other players, my friends, and people in our community is enhanced by this experience. And I want nothing more than us to grow in our community. I want us to be able to show up. If people know us at all, be like, hey, can we get a game? And we bring joy to somebody's day. Or we get to meet other content creators, get to see releases, participate. I want us to get participation trophies.
It is fun to bounce ideas off each other a little bit when it comes to doing different videos and articles and stuff.
I want to see Krem again. I want him to see how my Wizards deck he was absolutely terrified of has evolved.
Krem still is trolling the convention scene primarily.
I want to get to see Chase again because Chase was absolutely phenomenal. I loved having them on the show. I want to get to play a game with them again, and so on and so forth. And then my third resolution is a small, I guess, announcement here. I plan to contribute to our YouTube by creating shorts and creating other content. Woohoo! Doing a little bit of the editing here and there.
And enhancing our videos from just the static image. Maybe even adding the cards.
Indeed. So my third resolution is to bring an amount of meaningful content to add to our show. So I want to bring shorts. I want to make our videos on YouTube better. And I want to be able to stream content for anyone listening for more interaction, more of the same for our second one. Everything on my last two resolutions are very big at community involvement, because the best way to better your community is to be the active hand that goes, this is what I can contribute to help make us better.
But also them lands.
No longer will we have to fear for our lands as much.
No longer do you have to
Because
fear
Jacob's
for
in
your
another
lands.
pot.
As I am elsewhere doing it to other people with cactus.
I still think that for an unset, they should make a lightning bolt, but you can pick another game that's going on.
That'd be great.
Just get haymaker from like 3 tables over. I'm at 2, I can win. Bang!
Nope.
I want you to know, I will call you from wherever I am. I don't care if I'm in a different state. I'm going to call you. I'm going to be like, are you in a game right now, Levi? Yeah, why? I bolt you for 3 and then hang up immediately.
Well, didn't they do something out with Warhammer? It was like a drone strike at an infinite distance. So they would call up random local game stores to call in drone strikes.
See, I can actually see you doing that, because if we just extend the line a little bit, you go from Levi Perry to Levi Petty.
If you subvert the L to the end, it's evil.
Make it happen, everybody.
Evil
Petty.
My God.
Just remember, Levi, in all of your future comments, when you drop a bomb of a document on any of the cool stuff, just hashtag evil petty.
If I ever get a card made, it's going to be called Evil Petty.
So getting into my resolutions, because
Oh,
there
yeah.
was no good transition there.
Eh,
You're
so-
still here?
Man, yeah.
Something. Have a resolution. Go ahead.
Man,
Wooberg
great.
stuff. Stealing.
So the very first one is in fact getting in more into other formats. I've started doing that this year with some of them, but I want to like really get invested, really get into the communities, especially with some that have been driven by friends that I have made within the community, like Pendrick and like Pilot, and many others that might come with just the next year, because people like inventing games. It's one of those primary needs within this kind of community that we like to build upon the tools that we've been given into new and brighter formats. Outside of that, I want to train for a tournament and then at least get top 16.
I like that goal.
Seems reasonable.
That's the one thing that I really wanted to do at Baltimore, because I knew my Halden and Paco deck and thought that I could go far. At this point, I believe I'm just going to have to pick up a meta deck and just really learn that
Yeah.
inside and out,
It's not CDH, it's TEDH.
and really just kind of go for it. Make sure to train my best, get my thought processes down with hands, make sure that the deck itself is built in a way where I can keep interacting as best I can. So that probably means that I build Kinnan.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely top meta. It does have a lower win rate just because a lot of newer CDH players will play it, and that
Mhm.
kind of warps the numbers a little bit, but it's strong.
Outside of that, what I had seemed at least a little bit limited given everything. So I think I do expand with pushing to create more diversified content within the Magic space, whether that be extending a hand out to have more people on the podcast, because currently we've only had Chase on, but we want to have more people on, making sure that the logistics for that is fine, pushing for ambassadorship within Wizards as we create more content that says, hey, we can make sure that we are brand friendly, as well as we have pretty good ideas and we're pretty charismatic for the most part.
I would say we're rather charismatic, and I think
Charismagic. I heard it.
Yeah, charismatic.
That'd be a really good name for a podcast, though. I'm not going to lie.
But we talk about where could they get it? And that's the only thing we do. And we
Okay,
just
Baldhound.
we just take that. We only take that. We only take that. Could they get it? We then talk about if their mechanics lead into them being dateable or not.
Hear me out. We use
This sounds like a terrible idea.
No, this is a great idea. What are you talking about?
hear me out. We just take the time to invite them on the podcast and have it as an episode, and you get your victory point there.
I mean, that's also fair.
Yeah. I think this year, the three of us simultaneously all discovered we got to be a part of the community a bit more than we normally would have been. And it touched our lives in a more significant manner than maybe I think I had anticipated. Having to go out and be like, hey, we're doing this podcast, and people listening and having the small opportunity to hear that a few of you, you listened to us and it actively helped you was way bigger. And not just like endorphins, not just like I helped you and it made me feel better. That actively made my life feel a bit better some days, knowing that it's like, we could goof off, have fun, play Magic, but we actively helped somebody feel better about a situation they really didn't understand. Like, did I mess up here? It's small, but it's something.
And just seeing the YouTube videos getting more views than I had whenever I tried to do Let's Playing like years ago at this point, and see them get more views and more consistent views has been a very nice feeling. Reaching out and putting our whole ass out there with some of the guests that we want to bring on.
No half-ass, full moons only.
And nothing brought me more joy than having the honor of participating with Creators for Change as just a unit. Like, hey, the Thought Vessel, please come do the thing. And we got there, we played some games, we
Through
had some
hands.
fun through hands, caught hands.
And
Mostly Joe.
we gave prizes out to people that
We
were
did.
super appreciative. It was wonderful to see the messages that came back saying that they got their items and that they were so happy to receive them. It was such a great feeling.
Did you get a message from my guy?
I, in fact, did not.
Okay. I sent it to him. So, and
Yeah.
it said it was delivered, but I just didn't receive anything. But it's fine.
See, like,
I'm not a hurt at all.
To be fair, I don't.
to be fair.
To be fair,
To be fair.
I did not give my recipient really the ability to respond to me because it just had their
Yeah.
address printed twice. Mostly not just for safety reasons, but because when we gave those gifts to the people who donated them, it was a charity that I did not want thanks for because we were doing a good thing. And in my opinion, we do good to do good, not because we expect like a thank you.
It was in our backyard. We're North Carolina based. So being able to raise money.
I now
for-
remember. Yes, they
our
did, in
community.
fact, thank you for the deck.
Hey, let's go.
Neat. It was mine that didn't thank, which that's fine.
Yeah, because there was no information.
There was no one to thank, which
take
I
it
am
back.
perfectly accepting of.
I know that at least the other two that I had sent, the secret layers that just randomly came with me that I never got any kind of contact about.
Sure.
I sent those out to the respective people, and they also did not have any information to reach out to them as well.
And that's fine. Like we're not doing this for thanks. That one was mostly to kind of raise money for the Western Carolina there, but it was awesome to be able to be a part of that. It's definitely something I've never really done before. So trying to even tormenting Joe, trying to get the webcam thing figured out, but it all worked out in the end. It was good.
Yeah.
Yes, because other than being the editor, I am our primary tech guy.
Yeah.
That's what happens when we have the IT crowd. We use the IT crowd.
Yeah. That being
We
said,
appreciate the IT crowd.
fingers crossed this upcoming year with my resolution, I plan to contribute more to that. I want to alleviate the pressure, Joe. I'm struggling, but I'm trying. And I want to make a more active step in like our community. I want to participate via streaming and making our videos something for people to enjoy, not just hear.
So, with that being said, in the final note here, of course, if you are still listening to the end of this episode, thank you, and I'm sorry. But we do have an email address here, thoughtvesselshow@gmail.com. If there's any topics that you would like us to cover on the show, send us an email and we'll see if we can get it on.
Man, you haven't done one of those in a while.
Absolutely. We've been
Yeah.
doing great, but it'd be nice to have some more community-driven content out there.
Absolutely. And also, we would love to just, even if we don't end up on the show with your story, I think it would be a good way to balance out some more content. Just, we have a few selections. There are some that are similar. So let's just nail this one because there's enough of you wanting this particular topic. Like, am I the jerk for Nicol Bolas? And 3 of you talk about Nicol Bolas.
I would
We'll hit it.
love to do some listener submitted Am I the Arch Enemies? Because those are always fun.
This one is the one where you're sorry for? There are so many other episodes that we've done where I'm pretty sure we should be more sorry.
I'm sorry universally just for existing.
You know, it is in fact that good tidings to all men and women and thems and the general populace.
Where-
Good tidings.
Where are we going?
Good tidings for
Because it's the New Year's. It's time to make amends.
enjoy this, all bucks, ducks, does, and bows in between.
Well, it has been a fantastic year. We are off the rails. I'm Levi.
I'm Jacoby.
Let old acquaintance be forgot and never brought to mind.
That's Joe. This is the Thought Vessel Show. Take care. Have a good week.
Bye.
Be excellent to each other.